This might come as a surprise, but Yakuza 0 is the 7th entry in the franchise to reach the United States. Despite this, the franchise has only garnered a small cult following outside Japan, but Sega is giving it another gamble with Yakuza 0 on the PlayStation 4. So, is it worth it? Let's find out. From an outside perspective, you'd be right to assume Yakuza 0 features all the self-serious drama of a mafia tale. Morally questionable men banded together by an honor-based society struggling to work their way up the corporate ladder. And yes, that's certainly a major component to this now 12-year-old franchise. But the Yakuza series has always been a buffet of entertainment styles, packed with an intriguing crime story, comedic and unrelated subplots, hyper-violent street brawling, and a stockpile of fleshed-out minigames. Despite a nonsense narrative and some poor pacing, Yakuza 0's barrage of enjoyable distractions salvage an underwhelming plot. The year is 1988, and Japan is on the rise. Amidst an economic bubble, the country is experiencing a renaissance of business culture and financial opportunities. Eager to capitalize on the expanding market, the Dojima family sets its sights on renovating a large portion of the Kabucho district. Enter Kazuma Kiryu, a 3-year employee of the Yakuza, striving to replicate the success of his mentor, Kazuma. But when Kiryu is framed for murder, the entire construction plan is put into jeopardy. Rather than allowing the blame to fall on his boss, Kazuma requests his dismissal from the mafia before taking on a new job with the mysterious Tachibana real estate company, placing himself in direct opposition to his former employer. Elsewhere, the ambitious upstart Goro Majima is making a name for himself as the #1 nightclub owner in Shinjuku. Yet, his reputation leaves him unsatisfied, as his true intentions are to return to the criminal family from which he was banished. Out of desperation, he agrees to take on a hit job in exchange for his re-entry. But when Majima discovers his target is a seemingly innocent blind woman, he swears to protect the life he was ordered to end. Now hunted by the Yakuza and aided by untrustworthy allies, both men will need to navigate the underworld without compromising their new duties and personal integrity. If it isn't already clear, Yakuza 0 is loaded with hours of cutscenes. If the idea of putting your controller aside for 10 minutes at a time doesn't sound appealing, you'll likely want to pass on this title. Fortunately, Yakuza 0's excellent visual direction and pitch-perfect translation result in a thoroughly engaging tale of suspense and redemption. Or at least it starts that way. The dual narrative method of storytelling featured here switches protagonists every couple of hours. Problem is, the equal attention to both plots is unnecessary. While Kazuma's fleshed-out story always pushes towards its dramatic conclusion, Majima's second act is aimless, with long stretches of padding, red herrings, and recycled boss fights. Sadly, both are bogged down by poorly executed plot twists. Rather than discovering the information on their own, supporting characters simply monologue their darkest secrets. This undercuts the momentum of the story, as current events take a backseat to the constant revisions of the past. In other words, Kazuma and Majima's actions are often brushed aside for the continuously evolving pretext. Though the cutscenes are always entertaining thanks to the superb Japanese voice acting, it's hard to be surprised by a sudden revelation when they occur nearly every chapter. But even at its most convoluted moments, chapters are peppered with the absolutely satisfying smash-mouth melee combat. Taking cues from beat-em-ups of the past, players will punch, kick, grab, and destroy their opponents through the dangerous city streets. Though combos are fairly straightforward with a series of light attacks punctuated with heavy strikes, it's the unbridled violence that makes fights captivating, paired with the painful screams of victims selling crushed bones. Both characters feature 3 distinct styles, with an all-around method, a speedy yet vulnerable technique, and a slower weapon-focused type. Adapting their stance to the current situation is mandatory for success. Speed defeats larger enemies, while power pushes back against large groups. As the story progresses, combatants become more vicious, emphasizing blocking and dashing away from their onslaught. The true highlight of the combat are the obscenely brutal heat actions, where Kazuma and Majima release a barbaric string of unhinged attacks. Bats to faces, heads into walls, punting skulls, and full-on impalement are the rewards for smart play. Even after hundreds of fights, these grotesque empowerment fantasies never lose their visceral spectacle. And that's right, there are hours of skirmishes to enjoy. Similar to a Japanese role-playing game, random battles pop up while exploring the modest open world. Nimble traversal can't avoid these scenarios, but the opportunity to bust skulls and stack cash is far too fun and vital to pass up. Money is key to leveling up each martial arts style, unlocking new moves, and accessing the vibrant city nightlife. Though both locations only span several city blocks, they are overflowing with unique restaurants, convenience stores, and bars that'll give you a history lesson in booze. And most importantly, dozens of fully realized side activities. Minigames range from the straightforward pool and darts to the addictive rhythm-centric disco dancing and karaoke, complete with over-the-top fantasy dream sequences. And even classic arcade games such as Outrun and Space Harrier. Not all optional events are a hit. For instance, I don't think I'll be brushing up on my Soji anytime soon, and the bizarre cat-fighting gambling arena is a fairly dull rock-paper-scissors simulator, but the majority surprising depth and complexity make them a mandatory stop for any playthrough. Online board games are also available alongside couch co-op bowling, darts, and more, though my inability to find players in either option left me unable to test these out. If that wasn't enough, both environments are littered with sub-stories, 100 unique lighthearted tales of everyday people trapped in unusual situations. These moments don't share in the same production value of the main campaign, as voice acting and pre-rendered cutscenes are absent, but their comedic nature allows protagonists to break from their stoic attitudes. Here, the mobsters will help a struggling dominatrix tap into her aggressive side, attempt to meet women by writing on bathroom stalls, and become the producer of a culinary television show. While often light on actual interaction, the goofy slant and sappy endings are always entertaining. There is one slight nitpick. The inability to auto-scroll through lengthy text conversations is a notable omission. But these quests also highlight Yakuza 0's uneven presentation. Strolling past the geometric surroundings towards distracting pop-in and the under-textured objects may take some getting used to. Still, the mostly consistent 60 frames per second make it somewhat more palatable. There are a handful of indoor environments that look downright unfinished, with backgrounds resembling PlayStation 2 era graphics. Character models fare a bit better, especially with the main cast. However, random quest-related strangers are garish, with bolted-on outfits and slapdash hair textures. Yakuza 0 certainly has some thoughtful designs, but its inconsistent standards make its visuals, at best, serviceable. So, is it worth it? Yes. Yakuza 0 will certainly turn off many players with its prolonged cutscenes, needlessly elaborate backstory, and dated graphics. But this would be an unfair assessment of the entire game. Frankly, it's easy to summarize the negative aspects as they're glaringly obvious. But this all stems from a powerful ambition, creating a wide offering of disparate experiences. Breaking skulls on concrete and breaking hearts on the mic shouldn't mesh, but Yakuza 0 ignores these tonal conflicts and enthusiastically embraces every idea with similar luster. Those willing to overlook its odd quirks will likely follow its example. Yakuza 0 is currently available on the PlayStation 4 for $60. If you've had a chance to play it, let me know what you thought. And if you haven't, let me know if you plan on picking it up. My name is Colin Tanner, and I'll see you in the next video.